You know, they were doing something in economic science. He's in his last year of high school, right? Not high school, primary school. And they were doing the cocoa bean as an example. How cocoa comes from Africa can only be grown close to the equator, right? It needs a certain type of temperature to grow. Yet the chocolate industry is owned by Switzerland, Sweden, you know. Yeah. And they actually did a rands and cents study of when the cocoa bean is bought, for example, they'll be paid 10 rand. Yet that chocolate will be sold for 35 rand. So where's the money being made? But I'll tell you, me, I don't want to hate. Instead, I will look at the people doing that, which is the West, and say, wow, what type of mind must you have? What type of confidence must you have in yourself to be able to create an industry on a product you don't even grow and control? And you can create chocolate is a Western thing, yet it comes from an African resource. You see, so I'm in manufacturing. I can't tell you, right? I can't make a shirt, or I can't continue to make it if my supplier doesn't have the fabric that I'm using. So if the cocoa bean is coming from here and we are getting 10 rand out of a 35 rand product, and we're satisfied with it, and we don't realize the power we wield, because I'll tell you, something like chocolate is addictive. It's addictive. It's like a drug. Yeah. So if I'll tell you, okay, the Colombians with cocaine, man, they know their power. They know their power and they wield it, you know. So if we can't understand the power in that cocoa bean, oh, sister, then we deserve what they are doing to us. Serious. We deserve it. Sometimes you look and you say, okay, when are we going to wake up as Africans? You know, part of it, the power to define, right? I'll tell you, also comes from the biggest power to define, the God concept. Yeah. If people decide who your God is, if they define who he is or she is, right? How are you going to be, how will you ever come out of this big problem, right? Because God is a concept of supernatural, something bigger than you are. So how do you run to that thing bigger than you are if it's not something of your making? If it's something that your oppressor gave to you, defined for you, told you when to do it, how to do it, what words to say, how are you? You know, I look, say for instance at the Bible, right? Now, people might not like me for saying this, right? But when I look at the Bible, my sister, what it really is a collection of stories. It's a collection of stories to say, okay, when Peter was in this situation, this is how he handled it, right? Because according to me, life is too varied. There exist too many possibilities, because that's one thing in my idea of God, who he is. He's infinite. So he's infinite in his creative possibilities. That's why he gives us a new day every day, right? So in that new day every day, there exists so many possibilities. So in order to guide us, he gave us a book with other people's experiences to say, okay, when you are in this situation, know that it's happened before. You know, so when people add all this fanaticism to it, that's what makes it a not good thing. You know, there are parts in the Bible, according to me, right, where it is specifically said, and God said, that I can take as holy. But the other things were people's experiences. The book of Psalms is somebody's experience. It's somebody's prayer. So when people treat it like it's written in stone, then I think, okay, hold on, where did they get that from? But the truth is, or my truth is, that God is such a personal experience. It is so personal that if you are not careful of who God is, you'll be worshipping, you'll be going away. Like I'll give you also another example that will explain God concept. Here we had in South Africa our little God called Nelson Mandela. People really treated him like he's a little God, Now who decided he is our leader? Who decided that the whole apartheid or freedom movement will be represented by his face? Who decided? People don't look further. It was Peter Gabriel and them. They had this free South Africa concert and they needed a name. They needed also something that people can relate to. A name that is pronounceable. You see, so also when he was used to represent South Africa's freedom or fight for freedom, people didn't look and say, hold on, if my former oppressor holds this man up as an example of good leadership, as an example of someone that will lead us to freedom, yet it is being dictated by our former oppressor, I don't understand why he wasn't questioned. You see, so too the concept of God. If my former oppressor, if somebody that told me, I'll tell you, there's something my mom tells us, or she tells me, she says, my father used to tell us, or tell her, how white people used to speak about black people in apartheid. Now I'll say it to you in Afrikaans the way it was said, right? They would say, white people would teach their children, they would go, who made you? Wie het vir jou gemaak? Wie het wit mense gemaak? Die Here, die Here, die Here. Wie die kaffer gemaak? Die duivel, die duivel, die duivel. Meaning that, who made the white man? God. God made the white man. Who made the black man? The devil made him. Alright? So, when we come from a history like that, if somebody taught their child that, if somebody taught their child that me and my child are the descendants of Shem, and according to the Bible, we are made to serve him, to be hewers of water, drawers of water and hewers of wood, right? We are there to serve on him. Now that same person wants to define God for me in the same terms that he defines God. And I must think that his God will save me. No, then I'm a fool. Then I'm really a fool, And I'll tell you something that happened in our family.